All right, let's dive in. Today, we're digging into Deuteronomy chapter 26. And I know what you might be thinking, an ancient legal text? But we're going to look at it a little differently, not as some dusty list of rules, but as this surprisingly modern blueprint for how to build a nation. So that brings us to this big question. What on earth can a harvest ritual teach us about building a nation? Well, as we're about to see, the answer here is pretty profound. It touches on everything from collective memory and social justice to the very core of what it even means to have a national identity. So here's how we're going to break this down today. First, we'll look at a story in a basket, which is this really personal act of remembrance. Then we'll explore what I'm calling the social safety net. And finally, we'll see how it all clicks together with a covenant and a command. Okay, let's jump right into our first section. We're starting with this specific ceremony that, trust me, is about so much more than just saying thank you for a good harvest. It's called the ritual of firstfruits. The ritual itself is laid out pretty clearly in 4 simple steps. You bring the very first things you've grown to the holy place, you give the basket to the priest, you recite a very specific story, and then you party with your community. But it's that third step, reciting the story, that's where the real magic happens. And get this isn't just some generic prayer of thanks. The person standing there holding this basket full of their own hard work has to recite their entire national origin story. It's an incredible moment where a personal act of gratitude becomes this profound, public act of collective memory. And just think about the story they're required to tell. It starts from a place of homelessness, a wandering Aramaean. Then it moves through oppression, slavery, misery in Egypt, a desperate cry for help, a huge, dramatic rescue, and then, finally, getting this amazing new land. It's a way of hardwiring every individual's success story directly into a shared and very difficult past. So what's the point of all this? Well, it's pretty brilliant, actually. It forces you to remember. Right at the peak of your success and abundance, you are legally required to remember being a slave. It's this built-in humility check. It keeps pride at bay because you just can't forget where you came from. But, that's only half the story. This first fruit ceremony is about looking back, about remembrance. The text then pivots to a second offering, the tithe, which has a totally different, but as we'll see, perfectly complementary purpose. It shifts the focus from remembrance to justice. And that brings us to our second big idea, this incredible social safety net. The camera lens moves from looking back at history to looking around at the community, right here, right now. The rule is super specific. Every third year, 10% of everything you grow has to be set aside. But here's the twist. This portion wasn't for the altar. It wasn't for a sacrifice. It had a very different and very practical social purpose. And who gets this tithe? Well, this list is basically a snapshot of the society's priorities. It goes to 4 specific groups: the Levite, who wasn't given land, the foreigner living among them, the fatherless, and the widow. In other words, it went to the people who were most likely to be on the economic margins, the most vulnerable. And the goal? The text couldn't be clearer. It's so that they can eat right there in your own towns and be satisfied. This wasn't just, optional charity. It was a foundational, structural, social safety net designed to make sure nobody in the community fell through the cracks. Okay, so we've got a ritual for remembering the past and a law for taking care of the present. So what's the big picture reason for all of this? Let's zoom out for our final section and see what's holding this entire vision together. It's all wrapped up in this idea of a covenant. Now, you can think of that as like a sacred contract. It's a two-way promise, a real relationship. Israel has a part to play, and in return, God has a promise to keep. It's a two-way street. And you can see that two-way promise right here. On one side, you have Israel's part of the deal. We will walk in obedience. We will keep the laws. We will listen. And in return, God makes this incredible promise. You will be my treasured possession. I will set you high in praise, fame, and honor. You will be a holy people. And this is really the heart of it all. Remembering your story and caring for the vulnerable, these aren't just items on a divine checklist. No, according to this blueprint, these are the actions that actually create the nation's special identity. They are what forge a people into something treasured and holy. And that's the ultimate endgame here. This is the whole point. The purpose of all the rituals, all the laws, the entire covenant is to live into this identity, to actually become this holy people that was promised. So let's just quickly pull it all together. What did we learn from this ancient blueprint? First, that a strong identity is built on sharing the same origin story. Second, that gratitude for what you have is basically meaningless unless it overflows into justice for others. And finally, that rituals are the powerful tools that can turn abstract rules into a living, breathing national promise. And, that really leaves us with a question for our own time. What are the stories we tell ourselves? And what are the rituals we perform today? From our national holidays to the oaths people take in court, how do those things shape who we think we are and what we believe we owe to one another? It's definitely something to think about.